Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head on UATV and I'm Oles Gerjuk. On August 23rd, Ukraine marks the Day of the National Flag. The holiday was founded back in 2004, but after the Russian hybrid war started in Donbas over 4 years ago, this day gained a special meaning for many people. Since then, the blue and yellow flag became a true symbol of Ukrainians' willingness to fight for their land and their freedom. To talk more about the meaning of the national flag on the front line, we welcome to our studio today Andriy Kulish, Second Lieutenant at the Rapid Reaction Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. Hello and thank you for being with us, Mr. Kulish. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So the situation at the front line remains tense and is dangerous, and every day the press service of the joint operation reports about dozens of shellings, and Ukrainian media reports often stories about Ukrainian soldiers who use the Ukrainian flag as some kind of a charm. Could you tell us more about it?
I can say that one of the most colorful examples of using flag as, guardian charm is those letters from kids that we receive a lot on front lines, and we stick them all over on walls and in our vehicles, and a lot of kids draw those flags in their letters. And I must say it's really motivational, for us.
Are these letters from kids of the soldiers' families, or just from the kids that are writing some letters to the soldiers who defend their country?
Random kids. As far as I know, there are those drawing lessons in the school.
Yeah, there is an initiative that kids, the pupils at schools, they do write letters for soldiers at the front line. So you are talking about this kind of letters.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sometimes it's really emotional when you read letters from some unknown kid saying that he or she expects you to come back from front lines alive and meet your family and stuff like that.
Well, as far as I know, people do send Ukrainian flags also to the front line, and volunteers and just regular Ukrainians, they do sign those flags and do write some messages on them also. Could you tell us some messages that you remember the most?
There's a tradition when deployment comes to an end, and for example one unit goes back to its hometown, for example, and another unit switches the previous unit. Sometimes we take flags and write signs on those flags, and mostly it's some guys have their contracts ending soon, and they are getting demobilized from the army. Okay, and mostly it's like wishes from fellow soldiers and things like that.
For a happy life and good luck.
Yeah.
In the future. Well, do Ukrainian soldiers celebrate the Day of the National Flag there at the front line?
Yes, of course, but the difference is that you can't always, hang out the flag on your position, for example, because it makes it perfect target, for artillery.
Where do you keep your flags then?
Here, on the sleeve.
Well, that's the part of the uniform. And do you have a lot of flags in those buildings where you live and you stay overnight?
Usually we have like a flag.
At least one in the room?
Yeah, at least one. And we also hang those flags on our vehicles. Of course, the vehicles are stored in masked areas. And the guys usually use random kinds of flags, like yellow and blue. Sometimes it's red and black flag, and because there are no strict rules on the war, which exactly flag you have to put on your vehicle or something like that, I think it's okay. And of course, sometimes there are cases when soldiers use, for example, American flag, to mock the enemy and make fun of them. And
that Americans are present in the Russian-Ukrainian war.
As far as I know, they only get parachuted somewhere in Donetsk area. For example, once we had American flag hang outside of our position, after the enemy decided to raise their flag on their position, just for fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in most cases, it's it's dangerous,
it's dangerous to hoist any flag.
On exactly, position. Because it's a perfect orienteer, for artillery. Mm-hmm. And
well, usually people think that flag is just a symbol, but I do agree that it has the special power of unification and recognition of the national identity. And maybe that is why back in the USSR it was really illegal to use the Ukrainian flag, and there was even a punishment of 2 years imprisonment for doing so. That's why I would like to ask you, maybe you could share some stories of your fellows. How does it feel when you liberate the territory that was used to be occupied by Russian forces? You liberate this territory and you hoist the Ukrainian flag. What is the feeling in this moment?
Frankly saying, I never did that, but I've been dreaming about it, of course.
But maybe you know some stories from your colleagues, from the soldiers.
Yeah, from Sloviansk. One of my friends from Donbas battalion participated in liberation of Sloviansk, and of course, raising a flag over the occupied administration, liberating the city. I think it feels great, and it's one of those moments that soldiers live for, to feel it one day. For example, I have a lot of friends in Crimea from among the Crimean Tatars, and they are known to support Ukraine, and they still wait for us to liberate Crimea. And one of my friends, she has sent me a flag of Crimean Tatars to Kiev secretly. Yeah. And I promised that one day our army will come to liberate Crimea, and I will bring this flag back.
Well, it's interesting to know, how did you send that flag? But if you were saying that it was a secret and the procedure was done secretly, maybe it's not good to reveal the process. But well, unfortunately, the Ukrainian flag concerns not only celebration, and we are talking about the day of the national flag, but also sometimes it concerns crimes and offenses, and there are cases when people are abusing the national symbol. From the latest, 18-year-old boy tore off the flag from the pole in one village neighboring with the Frontline in the Donetsk region, and then 15-year-old girl was trying to burn it. I'm sure you have seen many cases like that in the east of Ukraine. Which ones seemed for you to be the most severe, and how do Ukrainian soldiers react when they see such cases?
On the first place, I recall that case when I think Ukrainian teacher in Donetsk, she got tied to a electric pole, right? And she had Ukrainian flag wrapped around her, and she got beaten up by local separatists and Russians. And in my memory, this case is most severe because, one of the worst moments is to realize that kids that grow up in those regions, that they are brainwashed, and they rise in hatred towards Ukraine. I think that after this war ends, we will have a lot of work, to help those people. People from liberated areas, they are in contact with people from uncontrolled areas, and they communicate.
And this disinformation campaign is
Yes.
basically controlling their opinion about Ukraine and Ukrainian national symbols, right?
Exactly, and of course, we would like to have more of Ukrainian TV channels and radio stations operating in this area, because the propaganda from Russian side is really strong.
How is this possible, to spread the Ukrainian signal for the occupied territories? And would people be interested to watch Ukrainian sources? Maybe you know some information about this, since you are really close to those regions.
Well, let's say in 2017, I guess, in winter, we were deployed near Stanitsa Luhanska, and I gotta say that there was only one Ukrainian channel out of maybe 10 channels operating in this area. And I think it's possible technically, yes, but there's special Ukrainian ministry that is responsible for this type of operations, and unfortunately I'm just a soldier.
Yes, I know that you can be an expert in that. I just wanted to know your opinion. And speaking of this abuse of the national symbol, Ukrainian legislation provides penalties for that. It can be a fine, it can be arrest up to 6 months, and it can also be an imprisonment up to 3 years. What's your take on that? Is this penalty fair enough? And should there be any penalty for this kind of thing?
I can't say if this penalty is fair enough, because I think trial should
Yeah, of course, the court decides.
Yeah,
but
the
I
court
mean, just
decides.
in general, this is what legislation provides.
Yeah, but in general, I think that there must be a penalty, of course, and aside of penalty, there must be, education on first place, education of people growing in this country, and of course, education of people who were liberated on East, because it's very important.
Well, we spoke about the flag, we spoke about the letters from the kids. What other terms do you and Ukrainian soldiers use in the front line in order to get somehow encouraged to continue at this battle?
There are random charms. For example, once in Kurakhova, there was Day of Ukrainian Warrior celebrated, and one of the kids gave me a rag doll that he did himself, and I still carry this. It's really small. It doesn't take a lot of place in a combat bag, so I carry it everywhere with me, and it works, I must say. Other guys have different things that they believe guard them from danger.
For example?
Bracelets, things like that. For example, this kind of bracelet made from cord, used a lot by our soldiers on the front lines. It can help in different situations, like when it's needed to stop bleeding, or simply tie something, or things like that. And yeah, a lot of soldiers think that this can save them.
Well, I'm sure that these charms and these symbols, they do have some energy that can protect every Ukrainian patriot fighting for our independence and for the territorial integrity of our country. And on this note, I have to conclude our conversation, but thank you for coming and being a guest in our studio, and thank you for your contribution in restoring the peace in Ukraine.
Thank you very much.
That was Andriy Kulish, second lieutenant at the Rapid Reaction Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more with UATV.